So the Wheels on the Bus routine that you've just seen, or the piece of theatre of cruelty based on Natty's story. Who is in the audience for that? Molly, talk to me about it. Who did you, in terms of performance?
Well, I don't know whether it was intended or not, but the only person I was really aware of were Natty and Marcy, because the way they'd set it up is if you were on a bus with the 2 and 2. I don't know whether it was just because I was placed at the front, but the only thing I really saw and heard was Natty's old lady interpretation of the woman who talks too much, which got progressively more vicious and violent. It kept, the more he talked, he kept spitting, and then had a full-on breakdown. So the build of that, you kind of knew it was coming, but you weren't expecting quite what happened, and then Marcy jumped on my lap, so I was quite occupied at all times. So it was interesting that you were constantly, there was always something that had your attention. You didn't really have any chance to be like, whew, okay. Something else had already punched you in the face.
Okay. Okay. Hamish.
I liked how Joe let loose with physicality. When I walked in, someone got pulled in before me, so I sort of made my way in. But then he clocked on that I was a bit out of place. So rather than just sort of escorting me and putting me in a seat, he grabbed me and just threw me on a seat. And then I was a bit okay, this is what's going on. And I could see a few people sort of doing various different scary things. But then he he was sat in a seat in front of me, and he turned around and he literally got in my face, and he was shouting in my face, and I thought that was really effective. I also liked how Marcy was literally climbing over people, she didn't care about so and so's there, she'd just climb over the chairs and what was going on. So I thought that was really good too.
Robson.
I was sat next to, I was pulled in by Joe, and he sat next to me, and there was just a sustained level of massive energy. He was just constantly in my face, touching me, shaking my chair at one point. It was very uncomfortable. Then he left and sat next to Hamish. Then I had someone else come up to me, and it was Will, and he was there was a different level of energy there, and it was like that to, can you hear them? And it was quite creepy, just hear that, and it's not even looking at you, you just can hear it.
Okay. Lois?
Yeah, I was sat next to Sophie. Yeah. I actually was kind of an accurate, I think, representation of a sleazy person on a bus. I think actually all of the characters were quite accurate, grossly accurate, I think, representations of people you might encounter on buses.
Mm-hmm.
But people sort of kept coming in and climbing over whatever, so your senses were always occupied.
Eleanor?
I think it was quite creepy, because they grabbed me and I was sitting beside Will, and they started touching me, and then it felt something is coming into my ear. So I was what is coming? And then Joe pulled me up, and they started going all over me. It was quite creepy.
Anyone in the audience think this could have been developed, or a performance could have been developed? Yeah.
I would have liked if, once we were on the bus, the bus took us somewhere. So after we were all on the bus, then the bus travelled somewhere, and then we got out and we were at a new destination.
Mm-hmm.
And something could have happened there. So whether it took us to where Natty went in that day, or just elaborate more so the bus takes you somewhere.
Okay.